when I was young, we used to go to a stake conference down the Autumn Tabernacle, and I've heard that organ, and I thought, I just love the sounds that come from that, and maybe that gave me a spark that someday I would do it.
The reason I started playing the organ was because I set a goal to have it as my bucket list.
From a young age, I was always interested. I think it probably just watching conference and seeing the organ, and always just the power that, you know, it's such a powerful instrument, and wonderful sounds and all the things that come with the organ.
I remember my husband, who was my boyfriend, my senior year of high school. We'd been together for 2 years. He finally convinced me that it was okay to go to church with him. And it was the first time I'd ever heard an organ in person. And I looked over to him and I was like, I want to do that. That's cool.
So as I was growing up, like when I was a teenager, every once in a while I would sneak into the chapel and mess around with the organ and say, hey, what does this button do? You know, just curiosity got the better of me. I got to where I could even make it sound all right. I substituted a couple times.
So it was through church that I got my exposure to organ. It was just playing for meetings and that sort of thing. It wasn't until I was, I think I was a freshman in college, and I was getting ready to go on my mission. I remember this distinctly. And I went and watched the movie Rollerball, but it was a marvelous movie, and in that movie, and I can't remember who the organist was, but they played the Toccata and Fugue in D minor by J.S. Bach, the one that we all know. And that got me so excited. I went out and bought the music, the sheet music, that day, and started learning how to play Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
When I was 8, my mother started me with piano lessons, and I think it was a typical experience for an 8-year-old. When I was 12, we moved, and I started with a new teacher, and Margaret Bradford Young. And when I was 15, she suggested I learn organ from her husband, Robert Young. And I took lessons for 1 year from him at our local LDS chapel. And he taught me correct principles right to begin with, which are still with me 4 decades later. He also encouraged me to experiment and to not be hesitant to try the different sounds that the organ could produce. And so I remember being in the chapel, just trying all the different stops and the combinations, and not really understanding the principles behind it and how they function, but learning from the sounds and the interest in experimenting.
Shortly after I graduated, I did my undergrad here in music ed. I heard there was someone in our stake who was giving free organ lessons, and as a music ed major, I didn't really care which instrument it was on. I said, free lessons, I'm there. And so I show up, and it happened to be Dr. Parley Belknap. And so that was it was so fun.
I ran into an organ that didn't have the cheater pedal because I'd never properly learned the pedal, and so I promised myself I wasn't really going to play until I learned the pedal. And so I have just, this last few months, I've wanted a way to worship. And so the thought came to me that the psalm with a loud noise, and I have thought about the organ because we've got Brother Kaysen in our stake, and that's been really amazing and a great experience to hear the organ done really well and how it's changed the worship. And so I just enjoy.
The organ's been haunting me kind of all my life. I wasn't a member growing up, and my grandmother was the assistant organist at the church that she went to, although she's pretty good because she was self-taught in the area of the left foot only kind of thing. But she had an organ at home, and I was taking piano lessons, and I'd have to ask special permission for her to turn her organ on for me so I could doodle on the organ. And I was able to do that for a few years before they moved and sold her organ. And then a while later, after I joined the church, they did a stake organ workshop, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So I went to that.
I started taking piano when I was 7, and I liked piano. I still like piano, but it wasn't as cool to me. I started taking from another piano teacher, and she had her master's degree in piano, but had also taken some organ classes here at BYU. And so she's like, well, I can teach you. And she's in my ward, and she plays the organ. And so she said, oh yeah, we can do that. And so I split my time between piano and organ. And so it was like one week I'd do piano lesson, and the next week I'd do an organ lesson, and we'd just go back and forth. And that, at the beginning I was like, oh, this is cool, but I wasn't really into it. It wasn't until I was 14 and I was taking a trip with my grandparents, and we went to Paris, Idaho. It's a small little town in Idaho, and they have a tabernacle there. It's a beautiful building. It's been there for a long time, and they have a pipe organ there. It's a fairly small pipe organ. It's not, the Salt Lake Tabernacle, but it was a cool pipe organ, and we got to go in there and see it up close. And my grandma, she's like, my grandson, he plays the organ, could he play this? And they said, well, we're not, we can't really, the missionaries there, they said, we can't really do that, but why don't you come back later after we're done with all the tours for today, and maybe we'll let you play it. So we went about our day and went to some other sites around the area, and then came back that evening, and they said, yeah, we'll let you go in, and they unlocked the door and let me go in there, and I'd never played a pipe organ before. I'd played a digital organ at our ward, but at that point, all I could do was hymns. I couldn't even do anything fancy at that point, but they turned on the pipe organ for me, and so I was able to just play a couple hymns, and they were like, oh, you should come back. I guess they do a little 4th of July parade every year, and they said, you should come back and be our organist for the parade. And I never did it because it's such a drive from Utah, but it was a fun experience, and that, playing that pipe organ, I believe, is really what made me like, this is my instrument, made me decide that this is what I love,
I like learning registrations and how to make it sound good instead of just throwing on some preset. That's already preset. I like to experiment with my own sound, I guess.
Yeah. When I go and practice, I feel like it's my peaceful place. I'm just there by myself, just practicing, and I just love going down there.
It's our spiritual time of the week.
Yeah.
The organ has been my solace. It's been a conduit to heaven. It's been a way that I feel that I can transcend the everyday struggles that I have faced and the everyday traumas that I've had, and to be with angels and be with God and go to a more serene place, a heavenly place.
What a lot of approaching something as difficult as the organ has taught me is just, this is like life. This is extremely complicated. There's so many combinations of ways this can go about. There's such a unique ethical responsibility of the subjective and the objective. Does any combination of things just work because different points of preference come about? Is there one solution that is better than all the others? And I think that divide of just what is authoritative versus what is not, what is going to be beautiful, what brings about truth, what is useful. So many different intersections of philosophy and epistemology come about, and it's just really amazing. But it's the essence of music, this higher level of what it brings. It's a wonderful invitation to just almost like therapy. I think you just have this all available to you. You're in so much more control than you realize, but you have a lot of responsibility about how to program this, about how to imbue a sense of prioritization. Is this helpful to whom? What do people need? Programming certain songs that, with the amplified nature of music, gives text that people really need. I think that there is so much there that is characteristic of people with that musical responsibility. Embrace that leadership quality. Know that you're bringing in such an important aspect of what gives the lifeblood of the church, what gives it a sense of activity, what sets it apart from a lot of other points of organization and a sense of confusion, people trying to figure out what really matters in life.
The Spirit has led me along as I've come to really appreciate that music is very much a part of my journey on earth, and especially I felt that I've been all over the place. I've played the violin and the tuba and the trombone, I've played all the instruments, and playing the organ just feels like coming home. That's my voice.
One day, I was attending a funeral, and the organist at the funeral was amazing. This was about 10 years ago, and she played so beautifully. It was just so, even though it was a funeral, it was so delightful to listen to her prelude music with her changes of registration and the thoughtfulness she put into her performance. So after the funeral, I went up and complimented her and asked her how she learned to play so well, and she said the BYU organ workshop. And I thought, aha, that's what I need. I need a place to learn to play the organ officially.
And I always saw on the wall at the church an advertisement for the BYU organ workshop, and thought, when I have time in my life, I will go to that. I will go to something like that. And
We're not very good at the organ, so that's why we're here, because we want to learn how to play better. So that's my goal to be here, is to learn how to make the organ sound good, despite my not being good.
And I'm the ward organist in my ward, and my mom, convinced me to come with my aunts, and it's just a fun girls trip, girls week. But you've been here more.
Yeah, so I was the first one that came because my good friend was the organist in her ward, and she came up to learn how to play the organ, and then she talked me into coming with her. And I said, but I don't play the organ, and she said, it doesn't matter, it's fun. So I came and brought my sister, and then for like the first 3 years, I just came for fun, to be with my sisters and her. And then I went back to school, and so I told myself I couldn't learn the organ until I finished school so I wouldn't get sidetracked. And then I bought an organ, and I'm learning, but it's really hard.
2 weeks after I was baptized, we learned that all of our church organists were moving, because we live in a military town, so people come and go very frequently. And they asked if I wanted to be the ward pianist, and I was like, that'd be lovely, and I'd do that very willingly. But then they asked if I wanted to learn the organ, and our second counselor before he moved was one of our organists, and he had come to BYU's organ workshop many years ago, and so he was very aware of it and its benefits, and so he asked if I wanted to go, and I said, of course I want to do that. So I only found out I was coming about 2 weeks ago. So I had to rework everything with work and school, and I got it all done because I felt that I needed to come. It's very personal, but also spiritual, and I felt prompted that this was the path for me. And
So came home from my mission, got married, moved to a ward in a college town in Tempe, Arizona. I was going to Arizona State University, and like a couple weeks after we got there, the bishop said, "Hey, Brother Barry, our old organist moved out. Guess what? You're it." Gulp. So that was That was late 2000. So I figured, okay, I really need to learn what I'm doing now. So in 2001, I came to the very first BYU organ workshop, and I learned a ton. Learned how unprepared I was to start off with. I didn't even have organ shoes. Apparently you need those, who knew? But man, I learned a ton and I was hooked. So the next year I came back to the 2002 organ workshop and learned a ton more and even more hooked.
And so all the things I've been taught from all these experiences and attending great classes, one of the key things that stood out to me was to help the congregation transition. Don't expose them to too many things too quickly, or they'll not have a positive experience. And so I've been doing that for the last 3 years. And the result of our congregation is that they sing louder, they sing with more confidence. Even this week I was reflecting on it. They show up sooner. I'd say we have more people there before it starts than ever before. Maybe 75% of them are there before the meeting starts. And many of them talk to me about their experiences and how it's different for them, and they'll say things like they like the little embellishments that I did today, but it's many of the principles that I've been learning here at BYU, and I hear them, and they sound marvelous, and they sound inspiring, and it's really an honor to be able to worship together with the congregation that I serve. And so I've had these fantastic experiences, and I'm very grateful for it.
It makes me thankful that I'm able to be a part of people's worship. It excites me to give that to people. It's boring playing the hymns the same way with the same registration every time, and so I like to mix it up a little bit. And these classes have taught me the right way to mix it up, to not so you're showing off, but you're inspiring people to sing. That's what puts the icing on the cake, is when someone afterwards is like, "Hey man, you really did a good job on the organ. That was inspiring."
Oh, I know. That hymn sing along.
Yeah, that's so
Oh my gosh, you really think you died and went to heaven and the angels are singing and the organ is playing stuff that you didn't know an organ could do that. It's, oh.
Yeah, and you walk away just feeling so empowered, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the classes, I mean, you meet so many fun instructors and fellow students, and you learn so much, and you think, wow, how did I not know this before? But it's so good.
They teach you ways to practice. I didn't know there was a way to practice. I didn't know that
Even though you've been playing for
50 years. I didn't know that there was a way to practice, a way to read the music and a way to notate the music before you ever sit down and play it. And then when you make a mistake, you don't go on, you sit and fix that. Yeah.
It's so amazing. Anyway.
Yeah, I just played for state conference this past weekend, and it was so fun to change up registration and learn. We learned that changing registration between verses, and then the power that you can hear the congregation sing, and then they sing with more power, and I don't know, it's just such a great feeling to feel all that, and to know that you're a part of bringing the sweet spirit in there, and being a part of that. And people walk away thinking, wow, I really felt the Spirit while I was singing those words, and I felt that power.
I've enjoyed just hearing all of the different professors. The music theory has been fun, more so than maybe reading through a book. And just seeing what's ahead for the certification level that I'm working on right now, being able to see and hear all of the songs and the energy. It's fun to make some organ friends who've been through some of the same situations, and it's been funny, a lot of camaraderie. So, and just a lot of, you can feel the Spirit when you come and the energy, and it's been just inspiring to hear, like to do the hymn sing on last night was so wonderful, and just kind of a glimpse of what can be done.
All this, so I mean, the BYU workshop really has helped me expand my knowledge of organ playing and the repertoire, and coming here gets you inspired and wants you to practice, and it just appreciate all the help and the lectures and the concerts. It really is inspiring. Thank you.
Well, the camaraderie is awesome, and the encouragement that you get from that.
I like learning new things and just learning, what can make you a better organist. I've decided that's the best thing that I can do to contribute, where my little bit of talent lies, and so I might as well try and magnify that and try and learn a little bit better. And so just new registrations that would help to bring the Spirit to a meeting, things like that I want.
Well, I highly recommend the organ workshop. It's a great way to have access to just fantastic teachers.
I learned so much from that, and just deepened my love for the hymns in this gospel, and the hymn sing was probably the highlight of the week. There wasn't a single song that I made it through without crying, so I just get so emotional. But it was truly it was a neat experience, and I was like, I gotta come every year. And so I made it a goal that I was going to keep working on my talents and growing those again, and come to the workshop every year, and hopefully, anyway, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, for me, I started teaching this year. I mean, that's a huge turnaround from 5 years ago. I started teaching piano, and this year I really wanted to focus on ways to better teach my students, and I'd love to get them on the organ and share that instrument with them, and so it was how can I do that? How can I do that? And so the workshop so far has helped me come up with a lot of great ideas to do that, and I definitely recommend the workshop to anybody, even if you don't play the organ and you just have, what is this instrument, the king of instruments, what is it? Come to the workshop. It really is great. The amount that I've learned at the workshop last year and this year surpasses anything that I learned in the past 10 years. I mean, it's so much amazing information, and it's so well done. And if I could bring my whole stake, my whole ward, everybody who played.
I was really grateful to attend here. It's only day 2. Maybe 1.5, because I think Monday was really just like tours and things, but there's a really amazing dedicated faculty, a lot of active learners coming from all over the place. I've seen people where I'm in the minority of people where it's the first time coming. People come repeatedly because there's so much still to learn.
I have just been filled. I don't know if there could have been a more perfect experience. 10 out of 5 stars, it's been fantastic, and my cup has just, I feel like my cup overfloweth. So my goal for next year is to have a bigger cup so I can get more stuff. But it's really helped me to address some of my concerns, how to practice, and performance anxiety being probably the two biggest things. But it's also just given me so much motivation to move forward with my goals and to move forward with my organ playing, because I know that we're expected to share our talents to, further the kingdom of God. And I firmly believe that the Lord expects us to intentionally develop those talents so that we can be of even better service. And yes, that's why I'm here. The organ workshop has been phenomenal. I'm so grateful for the things I've learned, for the friends I've made, and just for the motivation and the courage to move forward on my journey.
So this is my 3rd year, and I just want to tell you how much I love the BYU organ workshop. Every instructor is just dedicated to meet you at your level, and they are so humble and so kind and so willing to teach. I have been around musicians quite a bit in my life, having a music education degree, and I have seen many an arrogant teacher and fellow musician, but here at the organ workshop, that is not the case. They love their students, and they try to teach them and help them in every way they can to become a better organist. This workshop has changed my life and made me, I hope I have many years ahead of me in my life, but it has changed my philosophy and actually changed my life and how I approach the organ. Please come. You will not be disappointed.